Hi everybody, TJ Mac Vintage Cards, and I'm excited to do this video today because I'm going to be going over some of the players that played during the 1950s in football, and this is just going to be just some different videos I'm going to do on this topic. And really the inspiration for this partly comes from a video that Tony Psyched on Baseball did, showing a scrapbook of some clippings from late 50s football and both college and NFL, predominantly California teams, unless they were playing teams in other areas. And it was something that Tony put together as a child, and really cool insights into football during that time. And Tony's really one of these gems in this community that has seen a lot of sports history in his lifetime, and he's somebody that when I show videos, he'll just share his insights at times on players that he saw play. And I always appreciate that because we want to certainly learn from others, and I think it's cool when you have somebody that actually is experienced watching these players play in real time, and they can actually share that with others. So certainly something I appreciate that he does. Just want to thank him. And also Gannon, JGA59 is a frequent commenter on my channel. Gannon's a great guy, just very sports-minded person, especially from the era of the 50s, 60s, and 70s. Just has a lot of great insights, and I always appreciate the exchanges I have with him through my channel. And then lastly, got Chris Stories and Cardboards, another one who's just a wealth of knowledge on football from this era, and I just appreciate his videos as well, and texting with him back and forth. Just very insightful person, and he does a great job with his videos as well. So just wanted to share those names as those who really is somebody that I just gain a lot of energy from to talk about football, just because they have such an appreciation for it. And I'm hoping this series will also give some others insight into this era of football and just maybe some more appreciation for it than they might not have at this time. So here is a magazine from 1958 showing Jaguar John Arnett as the primary person on this cover, jumping in the air. And he's somebody that I really like, and I'm going to talk about him first when I go through the players. But first, we're going to take a couple of peeks into this magazine just to give you an idea of what it's here for and how it was set up. So what they did back then is, in this particular magazine, is they put together the predictions for the season. And you can see these various numbers in here. Well, they had 12 different sports writers rate where the teams were going to finish that particular year. So you can see here, like on the top in the East Conference, 6 of them had Cleveland finishing first, and 6 had them finishing second. So the overall consensus would be Cleveland was going to win the division that year, and then Detroit. On the other side here, 5 had them finishing first, 6 had them finishing second. I'm not sure why somebody didn't rate them and they only got 11 there, but it's just how it was laid out. And just wanted to give some insight into this magazine so you can really see what the thought process was of the writers at that time. And of course, in 1958, for those who know football, it was the Baltimore Colts who defeated the New York Giants that year. And the reason why I'm really starting here with 58 is because it was such an important season for the NFL and elevating it to a national game that really competed with baseball and overtook baseball in the years to come. And that game was a catalyst for it, and I'm just excited to have a magazine from this season. And this magazine was like $10, and it's in beautiful condition, and it really just is a glimpse into football in real time from the writers at that time, and that's why I'm just happy to share this. And on the other side here, they had the predictions from the various writers from each of the papers. And then all these writers wrote articles on the teams during that time. And I'm going to focus on the Rams and just the 49ers today because I don't want the video to be too long. And I'll do other teams on different days. So here's an example of the articles they put together. This is the particular one on the Rams, and it was written by Paul Zimmerman, who I believe wrote later for Sports Illustrated. I think it's Dr. Z, if I'm not mistaken. And what's really cool here is they did just different insights from each of the teams and talked about them, and it gives you that real-time view of the teams. And back then, the Rams were coached by Sid Gilman, who was an offensive genius who did some great things in the AFL with the Chargers later on. So the first player we're going to look at is John Arnett. This is a 1958 Topps rookie card of John Arnett, and next to him is a photo from the magazine depicting him. Now, he's a star running back, punt and kick returner with the USC Trojans. He was drafted by the local NFL team, the Los Angeles Rams, with the 2nd overall pick in the 1957 draft. He played both his college and pro games at the LA Coliseum, where USC still plays this game to this day. And it was also the Coliseum that hosted the 1984 Olympics. He was originally nicknamed the Cat, but wasn't for his cat-like reflexes, of course, which he had, but rather because he could fall asleep anywhere. In the pros, he got the nickname Jaguar John by the Rams PR guy due to his acrobatic moves on the field. The PR guy thought it might get Jaguar to give him a car, but that never happened. John was a great player. Unfortunately, I don't think he was used enough. He was a gymnast as a child, and he had such great balance. He wasn't as good as Barry Sanders by any means, but he had that type of balance. He could run 15 yards sideline to sideline just to get 5 yards. He was just that kind of player. And you got to remember, he played often on bad fields, so it would be hard to get his footing sometimes, and he would line up close to the line of scrimmage, which is how they did it back then. And it hurt his ability to really break out and get those big runs as much as he probably could have. Now, with him, he had a period where he played 4 or 5 games, and this is how tough he was, where he had thought that he had a sprained ankle. He got it checked out. They diagnosed him with a sprained ankle, so he kept playing. He didn't want to lose his job. Back then, they had a lot of running backs on the rosters, and he had to get his time in. So he had one game where he rushed for over 150 yards against the Green Bay Packers. It became so bad that he lost 27 pounds and could not sleep. The pain was just that unbearable. He went back to the doctors, and they diagnosed him with a broken leg. So he was playing with a broken leg. It just shows you the grit this guy had. In 1958 was his best season. He was an All-Pro, finishing with 1,177 yards from scrimmage in a 12-game season and a 5.1 yards per carry. In his career, John made a Pro Bowl his first 5 years in the league. He was All-Pro again in 58. He played 10 years until 1966, 7 with the Rams, and his last 3 with the Bears. So real happy to have him. I mean, this rookie card's probably $25 card, $30 card in a grade 7. You can get it a lot cheaper. It's just tremendous value for a player of his caliber. Here's the 1959 Topps rookie card of Del Shofner. And I mentioned Del in another video. He may be my favorite player from this era, and I've said to others who know me that it's a travesty that he is not in the Hall of Fame. Now, Del was a tall, slim Texan who could outrun and outmaneuver most any defensive back. Like Don Hudson before him and later Bob Hayes, defenses feared him and game planned to add extra defenders on the side of the field that he was on to try to stop him. Claude Crabb, who was a Washington Redskins defensive back, once put it, "If he has a pattern of any kind, it's his weaving motion. It drives you crazy watching him dip in and dip out as he moves downfield. He is so fast that if you make the wrong move, you can't recover." Now, Hall of Fame linebacker Sam Huff called him Slim or Blade, and he reminded him of Clint Eastwood, lean and mean out on that field, great speed and better moves, with legs strong enough to break tackles and leap into the air. And just a beautiful card here with that pink background and the Rams logo and the yellow. Now, Shofner played from 57 to 67 with the Rams and the Giants. He led the entire league in receiving yards with 1,097 in 1958. What is funny, he's not even mentioned in this article on the Rams as a receiver because he played cornerback in 1957. And here he is going for a jump ball against another underrated receiver from that era. And I'm going to show him right here. It's Billy Houghton, and he played for the Green Bay Packers. And I just think it's really cool to see these two underrated receivers together. Now, Shofner was the first receiver to ever have 4 1,000-yard seasons. He was a 5-time All-Pro. And you know, the only receivers who had 5 or more All-Pro seasons are Jerry Rice with 10, Lance Allworth with 9, and Del Shofner is tied with Terrell Owens with 5. This guy should be a Hall of Famer, and it's a shame. That's how good a player he was. Next player we're going to talk about on the Rams is quarterback Billy Wade. And Wade took over the quarterback duties from future Hall of Fame quarterback Norm Van Brocklin. Now here's Van Brocklin on his 56 Topps card. And it was thought that he was retired according to this article. But if you look right here, it says Van Brocklin signs with the Eagles. So when Paul Zimmerman wrote the article at the time, he was retired. But before they released the article, it said Van Brocklin signed with the Eagles. Just great insights you get from these magazines that I really enjoy. So I just kind of learned some different things. So at that time, like I said, they thought he was out of football. So there's Norm Van Brocklin. Let's get back to Billy Wade here. And I'm going to focus more in on him. Now, as I mentioned, Wade took over for Van Brocklin starting in the 1958 season. And this was his finest year in 1958. He played under Sid Gilman, who was the Rams coach, and later found tremendous success with the Chargers in the AFL. And he was a genius with the passing game. And under Gilman's tutelage, Wade led the NFL in passing that year with 2,875 yards and 22 touchdowns. And Wade had a good playing career from 1954 to 1966. And it was from 61 to 66 he played for the Bears, where he led them to an 11-1-2 record. Do a shout out to my friend there, Brian, Bears Card 34, and the NFL championship game. So it was the Bears that year that disrupted that Packers dynasty in the 1960s by winning that championship in 1963. And this here is a 55 Bowman rookie card of Billy Wade. These are just beautiful cards, these 55 Bowmans. I'll show you the back a little bit better. And then you can see here just the beautiful colors on these cards. And you'd also know that the Rams in 1957 were the first football team, college or pros, that drew over 1 million players. They were so popular on the road as well. They were a 6-6 team in 1957, but wherever they went, they just drew people. And they played games at the LA Coliseum, one in particular against the 49ers, where they drew over 100,000 people. And this is in the 50s in football when it was thought to not be as popular a game. But that was the type of team the Rams were. They were flashy, LA, West Coast, just a very popular team that was very much on the minds of football fans just because they were in an area that was glitzy and you could see them more often on TV and they had more opportunities to market themselves than other teams would have had other than maybe New York. Here we have the article on the 49ers, which is the second team I'm going to talk about today. And they had so many Hall of Fame players on those teams back then. And you can see in this picture here, you got Y.A. Tittle, Joe the Jet Perry, or Y.A. Tittle's there, Hugh McElhenney, Joe the Jet Perry, Y.A. Tittle, and then Joe Arenas on the end, who's not a Hall of Famer, but those three are Hall of Famers. And I'm just going to talk a little bit about them right now. In the 1958 season, they finished 6-6 that year. And just one of the really good teams of that era, though, that never lived up to the talent that they had on that team by winning a championship. Now, in 58, they had the two great backs here on the team. Joe the Jet Perry, this is his 59 Topps card. I have his 58 card, but I thought it'd be cool to show some different cards. Same with McElhenney. Here's his 54 Bowman. Thought it'd be good to show them here. I'm not going to talk too much about them today. Here is Leo Nomellini on his 1958 Topps card, and he was a fantastic player of that era, 10-time Pro Bowler, 6-time All-Pro, Hall of Famer. He played with the 49ers for his whole career from 1950 to 1963. He was known as Leo the Lion because he was a professional wrestler in the offseason. He wrestled in the NWA. He was a terror on the football field. He was a two-way player who was both offensive and defensive tackle. He never missed a game in his 14-year career. Yeah, he had speed, strength, quickness, just a player that had it all. Now, Y.A. Tittle had this to say about him after he passed away. Let's just put it this way. Leo is one of the kindest, gentlest, biggest tough men you'd ever want to meet. He was big and strong, a weightlifter. More than that, though, he was just a great human being. He never had any bad things to say about anyone. He wasn't a gossiper. He was a guy you could poke fun at, and he'd poke fun at you. He's a friend I hate to see go. Leo Nomellini. Last two players in this 49ers team I'm going to profile today are Billy Wilson, shown here in his 1955 Bowman rookie card. Very underrated receiver in this era, similar to Shofner and Billy Houghton. He played from 51 to 1960, all with the 49ers. He was a 6-time Pro Bowler, first team All-Pro in 1 year as well. He's not in the Hall of Fame. He led the NFL in receptions in 1954, 1956, and 1957. Now, he was an excellent possession receiver. He was very tough and one of the best blocking receivers of his era. When he retired in 1960, he was second to Don Hudson all-time in receptions with 407. He's probably, I think, one of the most underrated players in NFL history, not maybe quite as much as Del Shofner, who I think might be one of the most underrated player. His Hall of Fame teammate, Bob St. Clair, really believed that. He just had so much to say about Billy Wilson and his blocking abilities and his ability to catch the ball as a possession receiver. And so did former 49ers coach Bill Walsh, who advocated up until his death for him to be in the Hall of Fame. That's what he thought of Billy Wilson. And next to him here we have Y.A. Tittle. Now, Tittle played from 1948 to 1964 with the Colts, the 49ers, and the Giants. He had success with the 49ers, but never won a championship. Now, he was known as the Bald Eagle due to his bald head. He is one of the top quarterbacks of the 50s, along with Otto Graham, Bobby Lane, Norm Van Brocklin, and Johnny Unitas. And it was after the 1960 season, the 34-year-old Tittle was thought to be too old at 34, and he ended up going to the Giants, where he had some of his best pro seasons. When Tittle went to the Giants in 1961, he got reunited with Del Shofner, who was, when I say reunited, they were frequent opponents when Shofner played for the Rams and Tittle played for the 49ers. Well, now they became teammates at Tittle's recommendation for the Giants to acquire Del Shofner. And during the time from 1961 to 1963, the Giants were 31-5-3. Unfortunately, they lost 3 championship games in a row. But Tittle led the league in touchdowns 2 times, won the MVP in 1963, and was a 2-time All-Pro. Tittle is one of 8 quarterbacks to throw for 7 touchdowns in a game when he did it during the 1962 season with the Giants. And his 36 touchdowns in a season in 1963 was an NFL record until it was broken by Dan Marino in 1984. And I just think it's really cool to have these guys together because they just had a magnificent 3-year stretch that I think really elevated them to elite status as players. So that's all I have today. A little bit longer of a video, but I really wanted to dive into this a little bit more. All the cards I showed here today, I don't believe any one of them, maybe except for the Tittle in a grade 7, is more than a $30, $40 card. Tittle in a lower grade, though, you can get for probably under $20 in a 4. But I just thought I would share that as well because I think it's important for you to note that these cards are not super expensive and you're just capturing some great players in NFL history. Thanks, everybody, for watching, and have a great day.